Hello, and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are not getting the results you are looking for from your digital marketing efforts, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. Happy Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. I hope you guys are having a rockin' week thus far. Today, as you know, is the end of yet another quarter. Year is flying by. And you know, every single time we end the quarter on this show, we have a special show with my very special guest and co-host today, the great Jennifer Flynn. How's it going, Jen?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me back. I always look forward to it.
Yes, man. I love having you here. I love having you educate my audience here, especially when it comes to end of quarter. I can't believe we're already at the end of the third quarter of 2022. This year is going super fast. But if they have been doing their homework, like we've been walking them through this year, we should have some excellent results. So with that, the floor is yours, Jen. Let's unpack what we're going to be talking about today on this episode.
Absolutely. Well, just a little review of the previous end of quarter review episodes, the special episodes here on your podcast. We've been talking about the 9 elements of my intuitive business atlas. And these 9 elements are what I believe, if we give attention to each of them, allows us to have a very healthy, happy, whole business and whole life. Because remembering that as entrepreneurs, you are your business is you. It's important to have healthy balance between both personal and professional fulfillment. And if we focus on these 9 elements, you can guarantee that you're going to have a very healthy and happy business, which equates to a healthy, happy you. And in our previous episodes, we unpacked 2 of the 9 elements in quarter 1, 2 in quarter 2. We'll unpack 2 today for the end of quarter 3, and we'll unpack 2 more with a little touch on the 9th element, which is mentorship. But mentorship is something we're weaving in all of our special episodes here. So I'm just going to give us a quick review of what those 9 elements are. And I want to direct our listeners back to the previous quarter episodes. If you missed those, even though we are now in the third quarter, go back and listen to the Q1 and Q2 episode so that you can get a little bit more depth on those elements, because the exercises we're going to do today at the end of this episode, or the toolkit that we've put together for everyone, we're going to reference. You're going to want to have a little frame of reference for what's included in each of these elements. That's why we're unpacking them with more depth each time. So the 9 elements, just a quick review, high level, are mindset, mission, marketing, money conversations. We've unpacked those up till there in the previous episodes. Today, we're going to cover mechanisms and means and momentum. And then the final 3 are monetization, measuring, and mentorship. And I think that our listeners can find a lot of value in those previous episodes, especially the marketing, where certainly they get a lot of marketing in their episodes with you. But we talked about the difference between internal and external marketing, and we expanded on money conversations, which also lets them get the most out of their efforts with you by protecting the investments that they're making in their lead generation and their advertising dollars.
That was by far my favorite topic so far, Jen, the money conversations, because that was, as you recall, a huge struggle of mine. And yes, when you do not uh, if you don't know how to talk to cold traffic, cold leads, that money conversation can be very uncomfortable. So that was by far one of my best. But I know you're gonna dazzle me with something else today. So
Well, today we are going to talk about the fifth element of the nine and the sixth element, which the fifth element is mechanisms and means.
that was a
And
great
some
movie, by the
people,
way. I'm just
the
joking.
fifth element, it was a great movie. I'm a big fan of Bruce
Bruce
Willis.
Willis.
Yeah.
Too bad
Um,
he retired, but anyway.
I know, so sad. I hope that things continue to improve for him. But our
Mhm.
own fifth element today is mechanisms and means. And this is what some people might call systems and processes. But if I'm being honest, I was trying to be clever and keep them all M words because I was on a roll and everything else seemed to be an M word. And I like alliteration. And it felt weird to have something that didn't flow in there. So mechanisms and means, some people might call that systems and processes. Um, and really, what it comes down to is you have to have things in your business that are doing some of the heavy lifting so that you're free to focus on the parts that are your particular unique gift and brilliance. It's what's going to lead to um, you avoiding burnout, you being able to stay focused on the things you love and having something else to do some of the heavy lifting. So um, when you have systems, not only does it take some of the pressure off of you doing everything in your business, but it also creates consistency. And that allows for things that are repeatable processes to be repeated and to be done so consistently over time. And this is where we like to leverage technology in a lot of ways to help you really get what you need. And sometimes we think about systems, it might mean things from technology, but it also might be any repeatable step in our organization that we follow, like sales. Certainly, when we talked about money conversations, sales has a system to it. When you generate leads, you want to have a process by which you engage with those leads and lead them across the timeline from their first point of contact with you to making their purchase or their investment. But within any system, there are processes where each system has step-by-step instructions for you to follow. And what this allows you to do is to clone yourself with a team, or if you don't want to clone yourself with a team, I'm a team of two, myself and an assistant, and we have really great systems and processes to let us both do what we do best. I don't necessarily want to have a large team, but we can clone ourselves with technology and with systems and processes. So you can clone yourself with a system. And that system does for you automatically the things that you were doing step by step manually yourself every time. And there's a point in business when we have to let go of things in order to have time to do other things that are more money generating or more joy generating. We're going to have to let go of some things. So ideally, mechanisms and means are going to be the things that maybe aren't always the direct money generating activities, but they're the things that free you up to be able to do more of the money generating activities and focus on your particular zone of genius. So when we think about processes in particular, step-by-step processes are kind of the how we do what we do. So there's the strategy behind the vision. I would say mechanisms and means, they're probably the greatest way to summarize is it's the strategy behind the vision. It's the how we're going to get the things done that allow us to reach the goals, that then create the momentum, which we're going to talk about next, that allow us to reach our full potential and to serve those that we've built a business around.
So basically, what you're saying, Jen, is kind of like map it back to the first tool, which was mine. I'm sorry, mission, right? Tie it to the mission, kind of.
Yeah, well, essentially, this is the mechanisms and means are the how we fulfill on our mission.
Correct.
Exactly, they're the way that we do what we do. Now, within this, there may be processes, or it might be part of your philosophy. You may have a proprietary process by which you deliver your service. An example of which being the Intuitive Business Atlas for me is a process or a method. We might even call it one of my systems by which I get businesses their results. by evaluating these 9 elements in their business and diagnosing where the problem lies, and then creating plans to fix it. So following my process or my system in my business, not only for me to have a healthy business, but also for me to help others have a healthy business. And then within that process, in order for each of these elements to be healthy, we have systems and processes within each of the elements. Those are the things that let us know what to do, how to do it, when to do it, why we do it, so that we can build momentum and be fulfilling on that vision.
So it's kind of like, Jen, it's kind of like I have 4 R's of marketing, right? I've
Yes.
got so those 4 R's, I have systems within those 4 R's. If any client of mine follows those 4 R's to the T, I guarantee 25% or more increase in their business for, within 12 months. So it's something like, because I have that whole built in. So it's something like that's what you're talking about.
Absolutely. And there's the more etheric method of it, where it's like we have the process, and these are those 4 R's. And then there's the tactical, strategical side of that, where these are the steps we go through to get those 4 R's to their full potential.
Outstanding. I love it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying our end of quarter episode. Jen and I will be right with you in a few minutes. While I have your attention though, it's very important that you understand that everything that we go over when it comes to setting up your business in the right way starts with having a website that works. What does your online presence look like right now? If you don't know, I will invite you to head over to my website, lbmsllc.com. On the homepage, you'll see a button that says Online Presence Report. Click on that button, request your free online presence report, and that's going to put you in a position to understand what's going on with your business from a digital marketing standpoint. That's going to help you then follow through with everything that Jen and I are talking about. So with that, I'm going to bring you back to the show.
And then our 6th one is momentum. And momentum is kind of made up of a lot of things: speed, accountability, habits, productivity. I believe money follows speed. So taking imperfect action, taking any action. So often we want everything to be just right before we do anything. And the bottom line is we got to get the car out of park. You got to get out on the highway. You got to start going. You can build up speed. And when we've done so, and when we're executing on directives, when we're in consistent action, money comes. It's when we're in park that we're stuck and things tend to not flow as well. And cash flow is a big part of being a business owner, because it allows us to have the lifestyle that the business was intended to create. And it also allows us to play a bigger game. It gives us more freedom of choice, opportunity to invest back in the business, to grow its reach, to serve more people. So certainly momentum, there's a cash flow element in that. We want to be generating dollars, which allows us to generate reach. Income equals impact equals income. They're kind of bi-directional, but you got to be in motion if you want any of it. So a couple of little parts that I'll touch on within momentum. As I mentioned, it's made up of a lot of different things. Habits are big. How we do anything is how we do everything. I believe that's something that T. Harv Eker had said. And we want to make sure that we've cultivated good habits, not only to protect your tactical components of your business, like your mechanisms and your means, but also our mental and our emotional status, which comes back to that first element of mindset. And those things tie into productivity. And habits directly integrate into this, and how much we get done in a period of time, how we're using our time and our efficiency. And this isn't about time management. It's about managing what we put in time. We can't manage time, but we can manage what we put in time. And we want to maximize that. We want to maximize our time, our energy, our attention. We want to try to get the output from all of our actions. And a big part of this, I would say, is also self-care. It's part of our habits. It's also part of our productivity, but it's where a lot of people kind of fall down. We got to take care of our mind and body and spirit. We got to nurture that inner self. It isn't just all about the tactics and tools. Sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. You have to have time to have good habits that aren't just about business and productivity to get stuff done. It's also about making sure that you have a healthy mindset where you can get out of your business and focus on the bigger picture of why am I doing this in the first place? So, productivity isn't just about the grind, but also making sure we have good balance so that we can use our time maximally. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience where if you're burned out and tired, your productivity falls into the toilet. Like you can take 4 hours to do something that might have taken you 1 because you can't hold the focus. You're tired, you're burned out. So productivity is important, but a big part of productivity isn't just about the grind. It's about making sure that we've got good habits, both inside and outside of work, and that we've got good use of our time, both inside and outside of work. You can't have all your time inside of work, just like you can't have all your time outside of work and think that you're going to reach your goals and maintain any level of momentum.
It's funny, Jen. I won't write a blog post if it's not, before 9:00 in the morning. I have to write a blog post I'm usually up, anywhere between 5 and 5:30, and I'm a morning person, and that's when I'm going to write something that's going to be, outstanding. But if I wait until after 9 when the phone starts ringing and, I got clients calling me, I got my staff calling me, et cetera, that blog post is not going to be worth anything.
Absolutely.
So that's usually my momentum. I have to do it before the phone rings, or else I'm done.
I think that's an important thing for all people to consider and really understanding how you're uniquely wired. I know there's a lot of things in the business world that you're not successful unless you're part of the 5 a.m. club. And I think there's certainly some truth in taking the day by storm, but I think it's also important to honor your natural internal clock. And some people are just better at a later part of the day. Some people need to ease into their day, and their productivity is going to happen at the end of a day when they've had stimulus all day long. They're going to write that best blog post at 5 o'clock or just after dinner or whatever it is. I think the key is to make sure you have good habits, whatever those habits are for you. Like you've developed a great habit of, you're a morning person and you got to get that stuff done before you hit the slog of the day. I think everybody has to create their best habit. And that kind of ties into the last component that I would mention around momentum, which is accountability. And I'm going to probably say a little more about this than I did some of the others, because I think accountability gets a lot of attention and it can be kind of a buzzy word in terms of, what we all think it means and the fact that everybody needs it. But I think it has a lot of connotations, but I'm just going to contextualize it a little bit from my philosophy. And certainly, as a coach and a mentor, I'm here to help people get stuff done in their business and to help people have a force at their back. And when we leverage that human component, where we don't want to disappoint other people, it actually works really well, because we often seem to be fine disappointing ourselves. But when we know there's somebody else out there, we don't want to disappoint somebody else. So we have this accountability to get things done. But accountability in that context feels a little bit like it's an external game. And in my opinion, accountability at its core is an internal game. And it's probably one of the most misunderstood concepts in business and life. And a lot of people equate accountability with bad behavior or poor performance or negative consequences, because when somebody does something wrong, they're held accountable for their crimes, right?
Correct.
Now, I think the mistaken notion that accountability is something that can be imposed. Now, this is just my opinion, but I don't believe that's accountability. I think that's consequence. And I think it's hard to hold someone accountable. And somebody once told me, you can hold a baby and you can hold a bag of groceries, but you can't hold someone accountable. It's not consequences. What it is ownership. It's a character trait or a life stance. It's kind of this willingness to get your own crap together, regardless of distractions and less than ideal circumstances or anything else that might be coming up. You have to continually ask yourself, what more can I do to get the results that I need? And the very nature of accountability rests in the understanding that each and every one of us has the freedom of choice.
But Jen, let me ask you this. I mean, I know this is a little bit off topic. I don't want to, go too far off, but this is an important point that I want the listeners to understand. So what's your take on self-accountability? Do you think someone has the strength to do this by themselves? Can, be accountable to themselves, that they say, hey, I'm going to write 5 blogs tomorrow, and actually be accountable to write the 5 blogs?
I don't. I do think we all have to have that force at our back in addition to it, but I don't know that that's accountability. I think the accountability comes in to ourselves, and but I don't think it stops there. I think that looking at accountability as understanding both the external and internal component to it, and realizing that when we empower ourselves to know that it is an internal game, that it allows us to make the choice to take ownership. And we move from this resistance idea to this empowerment from limits and possibilities, and this kind of mediocrity to greatness. And so when we contextualize accountability as ownership, not judgment, it shifts things in us. Now, I do think that we benefit tremendously from having outside accountability support. But when we think about accountability, so often we think it's all outside. And I like to help kind of recontextualize this a little bit, because I really want everyone to understand that it isn't consequences. It's not something that if you don't get something done, it doesn't mean you weren't accountable. It's often a symptom of a system or a process or mechanism or means in our business that's not functioning optimally, something that's not supporting you. So it's not just always about willpower and, being accountable. As long as we're taking ownership, sometimes things won't get done. It'll be a symptom of something. And I really want people to kind of be looking out for the symptoms in these 9 elements, so that you know where to create action, where to take ownership and create change. Now, I think what on the external part of this is certainly having an outside force. And I obviously am a very big fan of mentorship. And that's where I was saying we're going to kind of weave mentorship in all along the way. Having a mentor, having a coach, having a consultant, having an accountability buddy. These are very important parts to helping us stay aligned with our own internal game of accountability and doing what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it. It helps us keep moving forward. It helps us maintain momentum. It helps us keep on a steady pace. But I don't like to leave people with the idea that accountability is just this purely outside force. There's 2 parts to it. It's not something where we're held accountable or there's consequences. It really is self-accountability and ownership. It's not something that's imposed upon us, but something that we are empowered to act in.
So, to wrap it all in, I mean, it makes sense. You can't, and it's kind of like what we talked about a little bit, Jen, before we hit record. When you're in this momentum mode, there are things that come in that distract you or detract you, or however you want to say it, that's going to try to take you out of momentum. So having accountability is an important piece to make sure that momentum is not derailed totally. Would you agree with that?
you don't want to internalize it in its entirely, but you also don't want to externalize your accountability entirely either. As with anything in the Balance Maven camp, there's a balance between the two. But so often people look at accountability as an outside force and something that they're held to externally. And I think for it to function at its optimal, we balance those two things with both outside force and support and mentorship, and with an understanding that the no one can hold you accountable. It's not a consequence. It's an ownership and an empowerment stance that you choose to consciously make the choice to follow through and follow up on what you say you're going to do. And that you consciously make the choice to get the right external vehicles of support around you to help you stay on track.
Outstanding. Awesome. So what kind of homework do we have? Is that all our momentum? That's it. That's it on the 2 elements that we have for today. And, at the end of next quarter, our 4th quarter, we will talk about monetization and measuring. You won't want to miss that, because monetization is really about capitalizing on all of your intellectual property, all of the potential ways that you can take your unique gift and brilliance and bring it to the world. It's about scaling and growth. And then measuring, certainly also something that is very important and we talked about this, I believe, last quarter, where a small handful of people actually look at their numbers and look at their data points with their marketing. And measuring is really important because it helps us know where we need to affect change. So we're going to cover those in the 4th quarter episode. But our homework for now is really, we've created this great toolkit where you can evaluate your quarter. And if you want, you can certainly look at it from a place of the first 3 quarters of the year, how you've done so far this year. If you want to do it just by the quarter, which is what we most recommend, we've put together this toolkit where the first element in this toolkit is our Back to the Future exercise, which is really where you sit down and take stock and you look at what's working, what's not working. And if I could do the quarter over, what would I change? And that allows us to then take the next step, which is to determine what are the new standards that we're going to implement? What am I going to carry forward from this learning? So often we breeze through and we don't stop and get the learning. And the stopping and getting the learning is how we can create change closer to real time, not waiting a whole year to evaluate and decide, but really being able to create that change. Yep, that's important. That's the homework for you guys. That's something that's important. That Back to the Future exercise, I've done it several times, Jenna, and I gotta tell you, it's phenomenal. It's one of the best things because you really, we're working so fast in our businesses. So when you reflect back and you do this, you realize, I could have improved here. I could have some holes here. Oh, wow, this worked really great. This is awesome. I got to do more of that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would advise everyone listening to head on over to the show notes, download that toolkit right now. If you listen to the first 2 end of quarter episodes, just follow through. If this is your first one, go back, listen to the first 2 and follow along. This way, this year should be as smooth as silk.
Absolutely. And I also think that it's not just for the quarter that you can use that exercise. You can use it for an event in time, a project that you launched, a campaign in your business. You can do it just for a singular topic, just as easily as you can for the whole quarter. We've also included some other tools in that toolkit. One of, I think that's also a very important one is we've given you a chart of all 9 of these elements. And it's really important for you to measure, where do you feel like your performance is in each one of these elements, and really be able to look at which element needs the most attention right now. And if you don't stop to pause and see how you're doing in each one of these, then it can become a very rough ride. We kind of look at it like a wheel, and you'll see when you download this toolkit, we have it set up as a wheel. Each one of the elements is a slice of pie, if you will. And you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how you feel like your business is doing in that wheel. And then if you shade it in, you can kind of see how some of them are closer. You might have some 2s, you might have some 7s, but when that wheel rolls around, instead of being a smooth ride, it's probably very bumpy. And so the goal isn't necessarily to try to get everything to the 10. What's really the goal in the beginning is to get everything to some sort of equality so that the ride is smoother. And then you can start working on aspects, improving each one of those elements until they're all functioning optimally. But it is kind of a diagnostic tool to help you determine in your business, where do I give the attention? Because if you're not reaching your goals, if you're not happy with your progress or feeling fulfilled, often we don't know where to start. And so this is a diagnostic tool that lets you take a very visual look at what area probably needs your attention to at least create some level of homeostasis in your world, to create a smoother ride. And then you can focus on how do we continue to improve all of those arenas.
That's awesome. That's wow. That's a great end to this episode. Head on over there, download it right now. That toolkit is gold. It's 100% free. And it's our gift to you guys. So until next week for me and next quarter for Jen, this has been Frank Deming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Jennifer Phil. Take care, everyone. Until next week. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. Don't forget, any links that were mentioned during the broadcast will be available to you in the show notes, so be sure to grab them while you have the chance. Incidentally, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to send an email to the email provided in the show notes, or click the Contact Us link and let us know what topic you would like us to help you with, and we'll be sure to add it to our schedule. If you would like for Frank and his team to look at your digital marketing presence and give you a free evaluation, simply click the Request a Free Consultation link in the show notes to get a hold of them. That being said, until our next episode, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.